Going live.
We are live. Yes, good morning and welcome to successcafe.tv. Today's headline, let's get straight into it. Resolve to evolve. So I did steal it, by the way, I have to be honest. And, it's about skills and staying power. So let's introduce Warren. Warren, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hey everybody, good morning and good afternoon, good evening to you. Trust everybody had a beautiful weekend. Warren Connolly here, coming to you from a very sunny and quite windy Hungary.
Very cloudy UK as well. So my name's Paul Bursey, and as I say, I'll reiterate what Warren said. I hope you had a great weekend, and I had a chilled out weekend. How was yours?
You could say it was chilled out.
Good.
It was nice, chilled out. We had a nice forest hike yesterday.
So
nice lunch
the reason I say that is that if you're going to resolve to evolve, as it were, you need downtime. Okay, not too much, but you need downtime. So let's break this down and see what it actually means. What is your thought about resolve? What does it mean to you?
To make a decision, to come to a decision, I guess. I resolve to do something. I make the decision. I make the commitment to myself or to somebody else. That kind of thing.
Yeah, I sort of likened it to people like Winston Churchill and people like that, and also like the American Civil War. There was a resolve to get a result, to get an outcome related to certain subjects. Now, whatever side you're on, whatever you agree with, not going to go into that, but the resolve, that's how it's that important, the word resolve. It's about making your mind up, as you say, making a decision about what you're going to achieve. And you can have the same thing if you're, let's say, training to be an athlete or an up-and-coming football star, soccer star, whether it be rugby or whatever it is, whatever the sport may be. And the classic thing was, yes, I happened to watch a little bit of the Olympics yesterday.
Okay.
And I know some people would disagree that they should have this in the Olympics, but I agree they should, having seen it, and that is BMX.
Oh, okay, BMXing. Oh, yeah.
They were outstanding. I mean, the American man, I think it was American man won the men's.
It was British. It was two.
No, the men. Yeah, the men was a man. I think the British bloke came third. For the women, the number one was the UK lady.
Okay.
And I have to say, the level of competition was fantastic. And the people who won deserve to win. It's as simple as that. But can you imagine going back to the drawing board, the resolve of someone going up a slope on these silly little bikes, right, and doing triple somersaults and not crashing? I mean, it's just amazing. But resolve is a powerful word.
You talk about that. There was a girl that competed for the UK called Sky Brown, and I don't know where she came, but she's hot property in the BMXing world. She trains and she lives in the USA, and but her father, I think, is English, and therefore she's decided to compete for GB. Sorry. But she had a major fall recently, and she's 13 or 14 years old, and she had a massive fall recently. And as I said, most kids that age, they would have probably decided, okay, I'm not going to push myself that far again because of the risks involved. But she resolved to keep pushing herself and to get to that gold medal for the Olympics. That was her resolve. That was her. She just made that. She had made that decision, and then the fall happened. The accident happened. She had a head injury, but that didn't sway her from her resolve, from her decision that she had made. That this was the commitment I'm giving myself. I'm making for myself, and this is where my path lies. And that takes a lot of guts and courage to do something like that, to really stick to it to that extent, I believe. And that's a great example of resolve.
Yeah. There was actually another one with the the Great Britain sprinter in 100 meters, Dina Asher-Smith. Now, I think she's world champion over 200. I think. Anyway, she ruptured her ankle a month before the games, and still managed to qualify for the semi-finals. She looked quite good. I think she's about the fourth fastest. But I didn't read what went wrong, but she obviously broke down. But to come back after a month, some people say it's brave, some people say it's stupid. I don't, but you can imagine the resolve that she had to get involved in to even put herself in a position of being there.
You can find countless examples.
Oh yeah,
in the
absolutely.
World.
They make us. They make most of us look like absolute amateurs. And so just bear in mind, there's always someone out there, regardless of, it doesn't have to be sport, by the way. It can be absolutely anything. And and there's lots of people out there. When you put heroes up on the wall, a lot of people, don't they, and pictures of, and they're normally sports stars, aren't they? But for every sports star that goes up on your wall, there's thousands of people that are not known or unknown that should be up there.
Yeah.
But because we don't know them, and even if we did, we probably wouldn't put them up there.
Well, look at this Italian guy that won the 100-meter finals last night.
Oh, that was unbelievable, wasn't it?
I mean, he came from nowhere. Nobody even considered him as a prospect to reach the final, let alone win the final. So I mean and he betted his personal best twice.
That's right.
I mean, that's just insane to run 100 meters like that, and 200-meter sprints and twice in a day, and each time he beat his personal best. That's crazy.
I mean, it's fantastic watching just different sports. It's brilliant, and because Italy followed it out with the high jump.
Yeah, and then the high jump, he broke his ankle, and he was told that he won't be able to compete again.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and
sometimes you don't have to. You shouldn't listen to him.
No, sometimes you just shouldn't. Yeah, and he actually had the cast. He had the cast from when he broke it. He broke his leg, and he wrote on there, Tokyo 2020, and then he crossed it out and put 2021.
Yeah,
so when he had
it's still 2020.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah. I've got one last thing to say about resolve, and that is fierce resolve is unstoppable.
Mm-hmm.
Right, you've got to take it a step further if you want to reach the top rungs of whatever it is that you want to reach. Okay, so let's move on to evolve, because evolve is quite a good word as well, isn't it? I mean, it's about, as I see it, it's about developing.
Yeah,
and that is what you develop as a human. You develop your potential, and you get better. So I suppose it's a form of maturity. You mature as you go along. Now, some people get to age 21, and that's it. Physically, mentally, it's the end of their life. They can go down and have down the pub and have a pint, and there's nothing wrong with that. But some people make it a professional sport. And that's their choice, and good luck to them. But a little bit down the line, they might regret that they did it so early.
Well, not just so necessarily so early, but for so long as well. I mean, it's I think the way my personal opinion is with the evolve part, I think the vast majority of society have forgotten that evolution is a necessary element of the survival of a species, right? If we were just to sit in our caves back in the day and be terrified not to go out and find a way to hunt for food and evade all those dangerous creatures out there, we would never have evolved. We would have just died away. We would have never have. I mean, there was a time in our history after a cataclysm, paleontologists and that they reckon there was less than 12,000 human beings, Homo sapiens, on the planet. Somewhere around 12,000, if I'm not mistaken. I might have that figure wrong, but it was a very, very, very small number. And those 12,000 or so human beings were spread around the planet. So that's that just shows you the importance of evolution. We have to evolve.
Yeah, that's right.
Everything else in the universe is constantly evolving. We, for some reason, have come up with the idea that because we are so special, we don't need to evolve. We can just remain who we are and how we are for the rest of our lives. So we reach 21, something significant happens in our life, and we keep celebrating that for the rest of our lives. And we keep holding on to that victory, that championship trophy, that 21st birthday celebration, or whatever it may be. And we keep holding on to that miss whatever pageant that you won. And people hold on to that for the rest of their lives. And to some extent violently. And that's who they are till the day that they die. They will keep going back, harping on the day that they won the state championships or whatever it may be. The county trophy.
I mean, I get it up to a certain point, but how about going and doing something else?
Yeah, precisely.
Yeah, and
of course, hold on to that memory.
The key is a progress and learning to advance.
Mm-hmm.
And you see these people that they're a champion in one sport, and they think, nah, I've had enough of that. I'm going to go and do another sport over here.
Yeah.
Become a champion of that as well. Yeah. You keep it going. You keep it. How can I say? Keep the old plates spinning. You do to have to advance. I mean, we're all looking to grow. We're all looking to expand.
Look. We go back to sport. We go back to sport again. Okay, and
this is a good example.
You can use this. You can use this in the business sense as well. Like maybe Vaynerchuk but let's talk about sport. And you look at Usain Bolt. Did he have anything to prove to anybody after what he's achieved in athletics? In any aspect of life, I don't think he has. But did he want to? Yes, he wanted to prove that he could become a professional footballer, and he was determined to become a professional footballer. It never worked out for him because it's too late, really. But look, he could probably go stand on a golf course and become a single-figure golfer within the space of a year or two if he wanted to, because if you put that enough resolve into what you want to achieve. As there's a quote that I posted that he mentioned recently. He quoted something that recently I posted it on Facebook actually about it took him 4 years to prepare to win the Olympics. Yet some people give up after 6 months,
or even a couple of weeks.
In business, for example, they start a business and they put money into a business, and then because they don't see things going the way that they expect them to go, they give up within weeks or 6 months. Yeah. So
there's a classic thing of fighting for your dream, isn't it? I mean, if they've got a dream of winning the Olympics or being a CEO of a company, then you fight for it and you fight tooth and nail, and that's the only way to be, because if you don't, now you know why. And the classic thing is, if they took all the money off of everyone in the world, give it all out equally, it would be back in the same hands before you knew it.
Yep, true.
Because there's smart people out there, determined people out there, and I'm just talking about the good people here.
They're not
bad people.
They're not necessarily there to steal your money, but they're there to make sure that they have, because there's more than enough to go around for everybody. And
absolutely, absolutely. But it's is life fair? No, no. And I think if life was fair, words like resolve wouldn't be there.
Yeah, we wouldn't evolve. If life was
evolve,
fair,
it's right, absolutely.
We need to evolve.
So, I mean, sometimes if you want to change, it's a bit more complex and a bit more advanced than you think it is. But you've got to start the journey.
True.
Decide the outcome you want, the end result, and move towards it by doing certain things. Now, when you get that result, you then need to find something else, whatever that may be. It could be gardening, I don't know, but also most people never start on that journey, and we all need to be chipping away at something to make life more interesting. It's more fun, But yeah, I mean, it's a gradual directional change. What you make, and you've got to be aware. You've got to be smart enough to work out how you're going to get there. Is it always going to work? No, it's not. Is it important that you are working towards something? Yes, it is.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you will start to shut down mentally, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot to it. It's not, you know, when you want to evolve as a person, you've got to have a higher sense of purpose, whatever it is you're talking about. And you know, you've got.
And this is what happens with so many of us, right? When we reach a certain age in our life, and we think, okay, this is it, and we stop evolving mentally. We stay the same, have the same mental capacity that in our 60s and 70s that we had in our 40s. And yeah, I think one of the skills that people can take on board is the ability to be a lifelong student.
Yeah,
as a skill set. Become a lifelong student. It's not just a decision to become a lifelong student. It takes a skill to become a lifelong student, but that's not easy, not difficult to learn. You just got to look for the opportunities to continuously learn what you're involved with and learn more about. And through doing that, you will someday, some people, what happens is they create a whole new platform as a result of that. They get to the stage where they think, okay, I think I know what I need to know here. So where can I learn more from? And then they evolve what they've already known into something that's completely new and better in many cases. And you can't say that that's only for the youngsters. That's not just for the youngsters. That's, you have many CEOs and whatever in their 60s, 70s, and 80s creating new things all the time. I mean, look at Richard Branson. Yes, it wasn't just him, but he was the driving force behind what happened for him to get into space. If it wasn't for him, he wouldn't have got into space. Nobody else was going to do it for him. Just it took him many years.
Well, Elon Musk might have done.
Well, Elon Musk may have said, "Okay, give me 100 million, and I'll put you in space." Sure.
Yeah.
And Richard Branson's not a stupid man, so he would have said, "No, I'll take 100 million and I'll do it myself."
I mean, that's driven. That's people who are driven. Now, you may not agree with all of their philosophies and whatever, but they are driven people. There's no doubt about it. And but as I said to you before, there's a million and one things you can do to make life interesting.
Yeah.
Because we talk about sport and business, that's what our podcasts are about.
That's what our driving force is, right?
But it could be knitting. Not for us, not for me, but I mean, someone could be totally committed to knitting. I know, and it's down to the individual what they find interesting and stimulating.
Knitting's actually becoming quite a big thing in the US, apparently.
Well, I'm glad for them.
For men, I'm talking about for men.
Yeah. I'm glad some people do.
They knit on the tubes and things like that to pass their time, and it gets them into a state of meditation kind of thing. And yeah,
I'd still rather put a pair of boxing gloves on, but there you go. You can't knit then, can you? So, but good luck to anyone. Whatever they decide to do,
sure.
And whatever you've got to do, it's got to be more than mere belief. Right? That's what one of the little drivers. Belief. Well, it's quite a big driver actually, but you got to believe in yourself and believe in what you're doing. So this is how I see it when we talk about resolving to evolve. You make a decision to progress. Okay, you're determined to develop. However way you look at it, they're all the same thing, but you make up your mind to advance forward to whatever it is you want, your outcome. So I think that's enough for resolve to evolve. I mean, that's to get started. And then once you're on that thing, on that path, as it were, there are two traits. Now, the umbrella is your mindset. When you open it, as you say, an open mind, it's like an umbrella. Well, your mindset has to be spot on, or at least you have to be working on it on a permanent basis. Unfortunately, most people don't. And that's a shame because everyone's got so much potential. But underneath that umbrella, there are two traits that you need to work on, right? And they are skills and staying power. Sandwiched in between that is action. But I mean, we're talking about skills and staying power. So, Warren, what type of skills have you had to adopt, learn, practice to get where you are as a coach?
My ability to communicate, my ability to listen. Also, I've had to learn the skill, which was probably the most important factor for me, was the skill and how to engage with people that for the first time, how to approach somebody for the very first time of having a communication or conversation with them. Because for me, that was something that I just was not comfortable doing previously. And I realized that very early in my career that if I didn't understand how to communicate with people by initiating engagement with them, then I wasn't going to be very successful in what I do. So that was probably the most important skill for me, was understanding what's the best approach to communicate with somebody and initiate engagement.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when you do something like that, you've thought about what you're going to do first, but instead of maybe carrying on thinking about it all the time, you've actually gotten and done something about it. Yeah, I think that's I think that's so important that you can think yourself to death.
Oh,
and you should. I'm not saying don't constantly think about things, because you should be, but some people just stay in the thought process and don't get any momentum going. The whole thing about when we talk about coaching and things like that it's about problem solving.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about problem solving. But first you have the thought, then you initiate, what you just spoke about, and then you really just solve problems, guide people, into taking the right actions. So So the other thing is knowing the impact you're having as a coach, especially the impact that you're having on other people. Would you agree with that?
You mean in terms of understanding what the other person is going through, or in terms
or even the physical side of it, so that let's say someone wants to run 100. I know, we'll keep it simple. Let's say someone wants to run 100 meters, and then when you first get to look at them, they can only run 20 meters.
Mm-hmm.
So on the sheer raw simplicity, you want them to get to 30 meters and 35 meters, and so it's important to review as you're going through as well. Very very important to have feedback and to keep tweaking things. As I always talk about, tweaking things, because you're never going to get there in day one. You're not going to get there in day 28 either, right? Unless you're one of these absolute rare individuals that pick up on things. And there's a classic example. I went and played golf. I'll use that term very loosely. I went and played golf last Thursday. Now, I haven't picked up a golf club in 50 years. Giving me age away now. Anyway.
Golf clubs were very different 50 years ago.
From what I remember, they were the same. But, I mean, yeah. Anyway, so I went on the driving range, and I've got a slight problem here with my thumb. So I can't do 100 shots. I have to do 20 or 30, So, anyway. So he said, well, you have a go. And I said, they give me a few basic instructions, just friends, And the first time I hit it 100 yards. and he went, that's amazing. You've been lying to us. Now, 100 yards to proper golf is not very much, but to me it was like,
yeah,
it was tremendous, and it was with a driver, a wood. And I'd never used a wood ever in my life.
Okay.
Just followed a few simple instructions. And she said also, you didn't bring the swing right back. You only used about 25% of the swing. She said, you must have some tremendous power behind your shoulders. And I went, I don't know. So I'm not saying, because I played a round of 9 holes, and for the first 7 holes, I hit very good shots off the drive.
So it wasn't a chip and putt. It was actually a full 9.
Oh, no, it's the old 100 to 150 yards. 9,
So
it's a short one. It's not the long one.
A mashy golf course, we call it, mashy.
Yeah. Pitch and putt.
Yeah.
Anyway, but for me, that was tremendous. I just couldn't believe how well I was playing. Now, when I got to holes 8 and 9, it all went haywire. and for hole 8, I had no idea whatsoever. Hole 9, it was an absolute disaster. Absolute disaster.
Maybe you were just getting tired by then.
I hadn't played before, had I? So in theory, so it was like I was losing concentration and everything.
Okay,
yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Everyone's going to be different. Some could be a really, really slow starter, some could be in the middle, and some could be really rapid. And we have to, as a coach, we're talking about skills here. Some people pick up quicker than others.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to understand that. I know I'm sure you do as a coach, but we have to understand that and know where you are. But know the skills that you want to achieve.
That's the first thing. You need to know what you want to achieve. Otherwise, if you're gonna venture into something blindly without having an end point to it, you don't have to reach the end point. The end point is not the most important thing, but you need to have an end point.
Yeah,
because it's the journey that's the most important part of the experience, right? It's not reaching the end point, because if that's all you ever want to do, then eventually your resolve will not evolve. Because
right, absolutely. And the other thing is, skills give us confidence and competence. So we'll want to be competent at something, otherwise we won't continue. The only way we can do that is to bridge the gap with practice.
Mm-hmm.
Practice. And that's how you get the skills. There's a few people that are, you give them a football, they could be made to look like a magician in a very short space of time. They're just naturally talented people. There are a few of them about, as we've all seen.
Yeah.
But generally, the average person who wants to become above average has to work their socks off, But as you move on and start to become professional, you have to keep expanding your sort of professional competency, and that's the other thing as well. So,
especially if you're in a field like us as well, you can't just keep sitting back on your laurels, or, for example, like in the coaching world or the personal training world or the nutrition world, you can't just go to school, study what you study, and then leave it at that. You got to keep studying. You got to keep evolving. You got to keep progressing.
Yeah.
And I think in many business aspects these days, it's the same thing. You can't just, you can't go to university anymore. Just study what you study, then go get a job somewhere and sit back and not keep learning and keep progressing, because there's so many youngsters coming from behind that are doing that. And they do understand more. They do have a better understanding of what it is that they're supposed to be doing. You may have the skills now, you may have the experience now, but that doesn't mean that those youngsters are not going to acquire that very quickly, because many of the youngsters today, they understand how to learn fast, and they understand how to get to where they want to get quicker than you and I. So, in a typical business sense, that should be a big red signal for people to bear in mind, and for us in our business, it's just par for the course that we're continuously learning. We understand that that's a necessity. As long as we're in this business doing what we do, we'll be continuously learning for the rest of our lives and improving our skill set as a result of that.
Yeah, because that was quite profound what you said there, because obviously I've been in periods of time when I'm just learning, but just learning will keep you frustrated. You have to go to the extra bit of then implementing it into something.
True.
So you've also got to look at what you're learning. Are you learning something for the sake of learning it? That's fantastic, as long as you realise that, you know, and you're happy with that. But if you want to learn something so you then can apply it, you know, like business skills, could be, you know, then you have to be aware that you need to do both. You need to do both to progress. And skills go right across the board, all aspects of life. You know, there would be too much for us to talk about. That's why we stick to a couple of subjects, and we can bounce between the two. But it's about education, practice, and then experience. They're the little coupling things together, and that's basically how you develop skills. And as I say, your pace is your pace. Someone cannot dictate to you what pace you do.
True.
Never be rushed by anyone. Never be pressured by anyone. I know that if you're in professional sports, you are going to get pressured, and you need to deal with that. But generally speaking, to the average person, I hate that word average, but I think you know what I mean by that when I say the average person. We need a little bit of time to uptake it in the brain as well. So yeah. So the other thing I was going to talk about was you know, there was a little saying that repetition is the mother of skill, and then, you know, because when we talk about repetition, we talk about practice, obviously. But I wanted to relate it to something that I did. Now, I've only got what I did, unfortunately, you know, and Warren's only got what he does. And my main thing was being a police officer. Now, I'm very quick on the uptake when it comes to skills and things like that. And I suppose you could call it a little bit devious in a way. I picked up skills that I knew would make me money. Okay. In overtime and things like that. So, and I think that you know, you learn what you need to learn very quickly. I'd learn things in an instant. You know, even as a 19-year-old, as a police officer. Because I wanted to be successful at being, you know, detecting things. So I could sniff out things, incidents. You know, if there was a block of flats, I could sniff out where the drug dealer was easily, and things like that. You know, my skill sets were not drugs really. I never really went down that route too much, but in stolen vehicles and fraud, and also domestic violence as well. But I used to get a kick out of knowing where to find people. So you identify hotspots. And I identified this one hotspot in Walthamstow where I worked, and there was a car park. And I met someone. I'm not going to mention any names here or anything, but I met someone who added to my skill set, and he wasn't a police officer. All right, pointed a few things out to me, and I'm quick on the uptake. And all of a sudden, I had an absolute gold mine in front of me. Now, when I say gold mine, I mean obviously if you arrest someone, you end up doing overtime. All right. Okay, so I found the gold mine of when I'm talking about observation.
Okay.
Observing people doing things, and we had about 400 arrests in one place. Ooh. That's what I'm talking about, gold mine. Now, later on in life, I found another gold mine. And that was in a market where there was a leather market in Petticoat Lane, and all the leather traders would take their customers to see an accountant to change checks. Because there was a period of time in the 80s where people were just using checks and nothing else. They weren't using cash or anything. But the traders wouldn't change a check. But this accountant set up a little garden hut. He was changing checks and charging people £2.50 for each check.
Wow.
Okay? But there was an added bonus. I would say 70 to 80% of the actual checks were stolen. we worked. So I'm saying I picked up very quickly that we worked out a system. The system was very simple. Now, it's a bit long-winded, but basically, I was his boss. Okay,
The accountant.
He would take the check, pay the money, take the check, or not pay the money, as the case may be. He said, "I'm just going to give it to my boss just to check it over because I don't want to get it wrong." Oh yeah, okay, So I look at the check. I know it's stolen anyway, really, So I give it back to him and said, "Yeah, it's okay, pay it." Now, why would I say that? Because the person standing doing the check, you can see his neck wavering because you can't stop the nerves. You know it's stolen. So the moment you say everything's okay, they come down. Yeah, come down to a nice, relaxed level. That's when you hit them. Not necessarily physically, as in a punch, but I mean, you take them out. You take them out. And they're done. They're finished. That's what I'm saying. You have to pick things up as quickly as you possibly can.
How did you do that in that scenario? Surely you didn't arrest them there and then, because then everybody would see that and nobody else would come back with stolen checks, so you wouldn't.
No. You're so crowded. Yeah. You only had to wait 20 minutes, so there's another one. Seriously, it was wall to wall people. They can't go anywhere. They try and run, and then you've got them within 2 yards. So, or if they're bigger than you, then I had to adopt a different way of dealing with it, but which I can't say on here. But suffice to say that it doesn't matter what size they were, what skills they had as karate experts. It didn't matter.
Just kept them.
There's a way of dealing with everyone, and it was fun. I've got to say, So, but what I'm saying, going back to this skills, building skills. This is, what skills do I have? That's the question you should be asking yourself. And then, what skills can I adopt? Mm-hmm. What do I want to do with my life? What I want to do with my time. I think it's all relevant, and
very relevant questions, and it's relevant to know.
You've got to work. What you have to work out as a person is obviously what you want the end result to be. But what knowledge do I need? What skill do I need? And what ability do I need to develop? Because they'll fall under one of those categories: knowledge, skill, ability, all very closely aligned. And that's what I did. Now, the icing on the cake. That's the cake. If you want to put it another way, you can break it down into so many different segments. As complicated or as simple as you want to do it. But the icing on the cake is staying power. Staying power, the capacity to continue, without weakening, without stopping.
Because you're going to have those moments when you mix those three ingredients and it's not going to work properly. You're going to have those moments when you're going to have a setback of some kind where life just takes a different turn, throws a curveball at you, or perhaps the economy flushes or something like that. So there's going to be stuff that happens. A pandemic comes around, maybe.
Yeah. So
Totally.
The pandemic definitely threw me out, and I work from home. So, it just threw me.
You're one of the few that did work from home before the pandemic.
Yeah, that's right. And it affected me. But you must adopt the ability to adjust quickly so that you can pivot, because if you're someone who's got a gym, right, and the people can't come through the door, you've got to go online. You've got to pivot quickly to go online. And I've seen examples of some people have pivoted within 2 weeks and everything's up and running. And in fact, they ended up with more money.
Yeah. I mean, I look at Les Mills as a brand. Okay, Les Mills is a company from New Zealand that do group classes, and they're in gyms all over the world. And this has been their business model. So they train instructors to teach their classes, and they have modules and everything. And you pay the instructors pay for it, then they do the education for each of the classes that they teach. Yeah. So they don't just like hand them the stuff and then they go teach it. They got to learn how to teach those classes, each class. And this has been Les Mills' business model for many years. I'm not a fan of Les Mills because I think it produces robotic instructors. But from a business model perspective, it's pretty good. It's pretty sound. And then once the pandemic came around and all these gyms started to close down, Les Mills went online almost instantaneously. And they started to offer stuff online that you could pay for and get unlimited classes to. And now they're doing other stuff on top of that as well, which is online. And they're adding to their portfolio as a result of this. And this is what you're saying. They've pivoted on something like that. They've taken the fact that the gyms are now closed. Those customers have nowhere to go. You know, some gyms, they rented out their equipment to members.
Mm.
You know, so they said, okay, instead of paying for your membership, you keep paying for your membership, but we rent you some equipment. You can use some of the equipment at home. Yeah, so that's another way to do that, and it's in terms of an example of evolving and pivoting at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, when we talk about staying power, what we're talking about is building strength muscles, strength within whatever it is you're trying to do. And you're not only doing that, you're building skill muscles. You're building staying power muscles.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to make yourself resilient to ward off any negative stuff. You know, because it can affect us. And whatever it is you do, you've got to stay at the cutting edge of whatever it is you do. And you can't. If you stand still, the weeds will come in and start wrapping around your ankles.
Sure.
You know, you will. I mean, you'll go rancid. Your thoughts will go rancid. So you know, you've got to stay around long enough. You've got to hang in there. You know, and this is where the meat meets the metal, or the pedal, or whatever you want to call it. You know, you know, you've got to hang around. You've got to have the fortitude to say, I will persist until. Not many people do that.
Yeah.
Okay. So not many people do that.
Again, you can look at examples where people have done that. You know, they've just stuck it out. I'm trying to think of one that might come to mind now, that people have stuck it out for years and years and years and years. Who was it? Orion Woodward.
Mm-hmm.
Orion Woodward.
Yeah.
This is for those that don't know, he's one of the legends in our industry. I think it was 15 years or even longer before he started to make any significant income in his personal business. Yeah, and I mean, our business is typical of people giving up after 6 months. Yeah, he stuck it out for minimum 15 years before something actually happened for him. And now he's a legend in the industry as a result of that, because he just had the staying power. He resolved to evolve,
That's
what
right.
he needed to do to evolve. And he created the skill set. He developed the actions for it. He created the environment that suited him with the experience and that wisdom. He took that, and look at him today. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I go back to the cake example I said. You know, let's say, for argument's sake, whatever it is you're trying to learn or do, there's 8 parts to the cake, all evenly cut up. Okay, what happens is that, assuming you're a person who stays around, okay, and most people don't, sometimes you could have seven parts of the cake and not have the 8th part done. Now, it doesn't have to be complicated. It can be reasonably simple. But for some reason, you're not allowing the 8th part to come to fruition, and it's like having no parts, you know. So you need to know everything you need to know. You need to know all those parts,
Yeah.
you know, up to a certain level, and that again, it's having a commitment to completion. All right. Commitment to completion. If you learn nothing else from those 3 words, commitment to completion, and I got that from my friend John Lavinia. Okay.
Oh.
And anyway, you know, you've got to learn endurance. Nobody can stop you. It's only you stop you. Mm-hmm. You know. What was the other thing I want? Oh yeah, the other thing was.
This is why I teach my clients endurance.
Yeah. But you hear some people say, show some backbone. But that's all staying power is backbone. Hanging around, working at it until you crack the nut, as it were. So you're going to have to show some grit. You're going to have to show some resilience and be able to tolerate disappointments, because you're going to get disappointed along the way.
It's funny that, how life experiences teach us subconsciously the tools that help aid us in life. I always used to look at my father, because I don't have a good experience with my father, okay? And I always used to look at my father as somebody who had no backbone. And I resolved from a young age to be the antithesis of that. Just for somebody to stand up strong, stand up for himself, and stand up for what he held true to himself, and not be scared of that. And even if I was scared, I resolved to push through and find a way through that. And that's held me in good stead all my life. I have yet to create the success that I envisage for myself and my family. Yet no matter what, if I failed at something, I've always resolved to keep going for it until I knew that there was a time that, okay, it's no longer is pointless carrying on. But it's funny how, and again, there's going to be countless examples of this. Everybody has an example of something that's happened in their life as an external influence that's created some kind of skill set for them, or created some kind of mental fortitude within that has held them in good stead for their lives. So you can look back in your own life, I'm sure, and find an example of something where you've created that, whatever it is, through resolving to evolve, through acquiring the skills and everything like that, and being patient and just pushing through no matter what. I'm sure you can find examples. Everybody, I'm sure, can find an example. So if you are struggling with something like that, and you're thinking to yourself that, hey, I'm in a position right now where I don't know what I'm going to do, go look back in your own life, your own story, and I'm sure you'll find something there hidden deep within somewhere. You'll find an example for yourself. And it may seem insignificant to you, but what may seem insignificant to you could be a life-changing event for somebody else. Now, I'm not saying that it needs to be, but in terms of importance, we all tend to downplay what we personally experience in our lives. We tend to downplay it because we think that it's, we're not special, we're not someone special. So, what is the importance of me having to resolve to keep a backbone and a strong spine on my life, even though I've got a deformity in my spine? The irony, okay, it's helped me. It's helped me in many ways. So, and I never downplayed that. I always knew that there was something significant for me. But unfortunately, most of us do. We don't realize the importance of life experiences and what they can do for us.
Yeah, so it's funny you should mention about fathers, your father, because it just made me think about my father then. And
I could see you going back in time.
Yeah. Well, I've got a lot of time to go back on.
It was a black and white picture.
I was 36 when my dad died in 1991, and you could look at anybody, and people looking at us as well, exactly the same, and you can find faults. You can find things that are wrong. And let's say, go back to the cake scenario, and let's say there's 8 things that you can work on, okay? And some would have 7, some have 8, some have 2, some have 1, some might have none. But and you can attack yourself about your lack of skill or lack of staying power, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But what you should be doing is looking, like, if I look to my dad and I think about his abilities, his ability. Number one, that he taught me the work ethic.
Okay.
He taught me staying power as well, because he was a bus conductor.
Yeah, yes.
And and also he taught me just to be a nice person. And they're tremendous.
I don't know where he went wrong with that one.
No, and he also was always laughing and always communicating with people.
Okay.
Just as a nice person.
Yeah.
And everyone liked him. He wasn't a driver. He wasn't a driver as in goal setting. He wasn't a high achiever. But I think people like that, they achieve their own life. They achieve what they want to achieve. So we're all different people. Anything we say may not relate to you, and that's cool. That's just the way it is. We can't, you can't please everyone. And but all I would say to people is that you have to show some resolve in some area. You should always be looking to evolve for you, whatever that means. All right, adopt some skills, keep working at it, keep adopting these skills as much as you can that you want to adopt again. All right, and then get some staying power. Now, we know that jobs now, and this is the last thing I'm going to say, the jobs now, you don't have jobs for 40 years.
No.
Generally speaking now, you may have, I think they worked out, you may have 8 to 10 jobs in your lifetime now. Okay,
probably,
but whatever it is you do, have the staying power for the amount of time you're there. Staying power, is the icing on the cake. So, Warren, do you want to take us out? Take us finishing.
Take us somewhere.
Yeah, take us somewhere, anywhere. Preferably somewhere sunny.
Somewhere sunny. Yeah. I would like to just use this opportunity just to remind people again that you no matter what, you can find examples within your own life where you've managed to overcome, and whether you consciously put it to your mind or not, you have resolved to evolve in some shape, form, or way. Otherwise, you wouldn't be listening to this podcast right now, or watching the podcast, wherever you're watching or listening from. So just look back in your own life for examples. And if you really can't find an example, I honestly, I challenge you to go out and actually and try to look back in your life and look for an example for yourself. And if you can't, then reach out to Paul and I. We'll sure as hell help you to find an example, because your story is so powerful and it's uniquely yours. And there's a reason why you've had that story, because there's a path that you're on. Whether you see that path or not, that's irrelevant. But you are on a path. So it's important that you do find these examples of your own life in the past and your history. It could be somewhere from when you were a child, who knows? But I just want to emphasize on that. It's important to find your own example and find that story and use that story to help you to now resolve to evolve in your life today, if that's a struggle for you. If it's not a struggle for you, then let's hear some examples that you may have. I'd love to hear some happy endings for you, something that you've taken on board that's helped you to evolve as a person, as an individual. So, yeah.
Fantastic. Great ending. So with that, have a fantastic week. Make it very profitable, very productive, effective. So, and make it fun for you as well. So, and we'll see you on Wednesday, healthierlife.tv, and next Monday on successcafe.tv.
We shall indeed.
Absolutely.
And happy August, everybody. Happy August. Welcome to the second part of the year.
Yeah. I thought that started in July.
Well, I mean, it's 8 months. I mean, I guess July is perhaps, maybe I'm 1 month behind. I don't know.
See you later, everyone. Bye.
Cheers, everyone. Have a great week.